I'm Sam.
And I'm Andrew.
And we're MV Board Gaming, and today we are taking a look at Stonespine Architects, which is designed by Jordi Adan and published by Thunderworks Games. Andrew is going to show us how to play, and then we'll be back.
Okay, so I've gone ahead and I've set up a 3-player game of Stonespine Architects. Now, in this game, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be constructing your own dungeon over 4 years. Each year is going to be played out through simultaneous drafting, and then there will be some spending of money to buy additional things. But essentially, at the end of the 4th year, whoever has the most victory points is going to win the game. Now, when you're setting up the game, each player is going to get this little dungeon board thing here, where you're going to set up your entrance to your dungeon based on this blueprints card that each player is going to get. So they'll all be different, but it's going to show you where your entrance is going to be, as well as where your exit for your dungeon will be. And so each year you are going to be playing 1 row of cards. Okay, so the very first year you'll only play the top row, second row will be the second year, third row, third year, fourth row, 4th year, right? And so what you are trying to do is you are trying to build up a dungeon that is going to be using pathways to connect your entrance to your exit, along with completing a number of other objectives. Okay, so at the very beginning of each year, each player is going to get 5 cards, and you're going to draft these cards one at a time and pass them to your neighbor. Depending on the year, some years you'll pass clockwise, other years you'll pass counterclockwise. And you're going to pick one of these cards to place in the row for that year. So like I said, in the first year, you will work on the top row. And you can put them in any order, but as soon as you draft a card, you will play it in your dungeon. And there's going to be a few things you're going to be looking out for. One, these cards are going to have different entryways and paths. So you're going to be keeping an eye on that because, like I said, you're going to be trying to connect your entrance to your exit and trying to have as many of your dungeons connected as you can to the entrance and the exit. So each card, part of your dungeon, you want to try to have connected to the entrance and the exit. And these cards are going to give you a number of different things. For example, for this game, whoever has the most goblins at the end is going to score 15 points. Okay, so you might be really wanting to go for goblins. So I might want to take this card. Also, I would be looking at my blueprint, and there are 2 different cave types here. You're going to have, or dungeon types. You're going to have these caves, and you're going to have these stone dungeon cards. So I might want to take a cave card because it fits right here on my blueprint. So I'm going to have a number of requirements that I'm going to be going for. And so as I'm taking these cards, it could get victory points if they have stars in them. I could get certain monsters in them. I can get certain traps. And some will even have treasure chests on them. So there's a couple of things that you want to pay attention when you're looking at these cards. One is the dungeon part and what kind of objectives and paths they're going to have to help meet your goals. But then you're also going to pay attention to the bottom. The bottom has a certain money value or gold value, and that is going to determine how much money you're going to have in the second phase of the year. So you're going to have 2 phases each year. You're going to have the construction phase where you're going to be drafting the cards and placing them into your actual dungeon and building it out. And then you're going to have the improvement phase where you are going to get money based on the cards that you play. So if I had built this up over the course of a round, right, the money I'm going to get is going to be determined by the money of the cards that I played. So in this case, I had 2, 4, 6, 8. I would get $8. Okay? So you're going to be paying attention to a lot of different things on these cards that are going to help you throughout the round. And the reason why you might want money is because during the improvement phase, whoever has the most money is going to be able to go first. If there's ever any ties when it comes to scoring or who's going to have priority to buy these little improvement tiles, it's going to go based off of this priority tracker here. And I'll show you a little bit about how that's going to happen. So after everybody's drafted their cards and placed them, you'll go into the improvement phase. And whoever has the most money is going to be able to go first. And what you're going to do on your turn is you're either going to purchase a tile from the market over here. So I could buy these 2 traps for $9. I could get another goblin that might help me here for $4. I might be able to get a couple traps or a secret passageway, which I'll talk about here in a minute. Or down here, I'm going to be able to get a chest and a little purple glob. Now, when you're calculating your money, I don't have any on my example here, but if I do have any treasure chests on any cards in my dungeon, that will add to the amount of money that I will get for the improvement phase every single year. So if I did have this, I could have 9 instead of 8, and I would add this in. And I'll talk about that in a second. So whoever has the most money is going to be able to buy first. So let's say I spent 5. I'm down here, and I'm going to buy these. Now, when you buy them, you have to place them immediately into your dungeon. It doesn't matter what row you put them in, you just have to place them in your dungeon right away. Okay? And each card can hold 4 elements. So 4 objects, whether that be traps, stars, creatures, treasure chests. Each of them can have 4, and just keep them in the 4 corners in the dungeon. So if you have already 4 on there, you cannot place anything else on that card. All right. And the reason why you're going to be wanting to buy these is because, 1, it might get you more money, but there is a token here, the secret passageway, that does not count as an element. This is the way for you to be able to create passages between 2 cards that might not be connected. So for example, if I had, let's say I just had this card here instead, right? As of right now, these 2 are not connected, and that means that this is not connected to my entrance. But if I had purchased this secret passageway, I can place it here in between the 2 cards, which will create a secret passageway from one card to this one, and now it would be connected via this path. So those secret passages are going to be very valuable to helping people, helping players connect their cards together and being able to score in different ways. Okay, after you purchase, you'll reevaluate as to who has the most money, and they'll keep going. So if I sold the most, I would have the chance to go again and buy more of these market tiles. Or I can pass. Now, when you pass, you will take your money and drop to 0 because it does not roll over from year to year. And then you would advance, you would move your marker to the number 1 spot on the priority track. Okay, this is going to be important because at the end of year 4, whoever has the highest priority is going to get 9 victory points. And again, if there are any ties for scoring, you will also break ties based on priority. Now, the other reason also to pass and maybe forego buying one of these market tokens is going to be these challenge cards over here. So for the first 3 years, players, when they pass, are going to choose a challenge card to keep. And these challenge cards are just unique objectives for that individual player to try to achieve. Some might give you just straight up victory points, like this one here gives you 10, or this one might give you 3 points for each null that you have in a single column of your chamber in your dungeon. Others are going to go based off of different clusters. So if you have contiguous groups of cave or stone chambers in your dungeon, you're going to be able to score points that way. Or you might have something like this, where you're going to gain points for each door or secret dungeon that is on the left or right outside edges of your dungeon. So that one might be good because I have one here and one there. So I've already got 6 points because I have those doors on the outside edges of my dungeon. So you're going to be getting these throughout the game. And the first person to pass will get to choose these, and so on and so forth. And then after that's all said and done, everybody will draft another hand of 5 dungeon cards or chamber cards. You'll continue to simultaneously draw, and you'll keep going and keep going and keep going. And that's pretty much how the game is going to work. At the end of the game, you're going to score points for priority, The main goal here that's on this is going to change. There's plenty of them that come in the game. You'll have your challenge objectives. You'll also get points for your blueprint. So depending on if you manage to get all 8 of these symbols correct, and also keep in mind, I'll say this, if you don't manage to get specific cards that have like a goblin or a treasure chest or a star, that will also, you'll be able to fulfill those through buying these market tiles as well. So that's a good way to be able to reach these objectives. But if you manage to get all 8 of them, that's an extra 20 points. And again, you'll see where your entrance and exit is, because at the end of the game, you're going to get a point for every single chamber that connects to your entrance and a point for every single chamber that connects to your exit. So if you manage to get them all connected to your entrance and exit, each card will score you 2 points, or it will be 32 points total. Okay, so that's something that you're going to be keeping an eye on and making sure that you want to achieve those objectives, because that's a lot of points. So there's going to be a lot of things that kind of pull your attention in different areas for you to score points. But that's pretty much going to do it. And at the end, whoever has the most points is going to be the winner. So hopefully that gives you an idea of how Architect Stonespire plays. So let's go ahead and go back up top and tell you what we think.
All right, and we are back. So this is a very unique game, in my opinion, kind of different than what I've played before. So what made you pick this up?
So this was kind of a last minute back, I guess, for me. It was on Kickstarter, so it is crowdfunded. But the thing that drew me in is I am a big fan of cartographers, and this is a part of that role player kind of world that Thunderworks has created. So if you're familiar with Thunderworks, they have a bunch of games that exist in this role player world. You have role player adventures, you have cartographers, you have the Dawn of Ulos, you have Stonespine Architects. I don't know if there's any others. There might be more out there, but they all kind of take place in the same world that they've been creating. And so I really like cartographers. I almost backed Dawn of Ulos. I've never played role player, but anyway, I took a look at this one, and it was unique in the fact that I'm not a big dungeon crawl fan, but I like the idea of building a dungeon, right? Building a dungeon that you're going to put all these creatures in, different traps, have different treasures that you're putting in there, and trying to meet these special objectives. I thought, okay, that's cool. That sounds unique. That sounds different. And so that was kind of what drew me in. And also, it was a relatively cheap game, $39. In all honesty, when this game, if it's already at retail or not, I'm pretty sure you're going to be able to get a pretty good deal on this game. The one thing is I'm thinking about like production for the game. I'm not crazy about the name of the game. Stonespine Architects tells you nothing about the game, right? You don't know from the cover that you're building a dungeon. It is a weird fantasy, generic fantasy kind of look cover. Even the back just has like some cards and whatnot, but it doesn't really draw you in. I mean, the game is nicely produced. I would even say like this box is a little big for what you're getting. I mean, it's mostly just cards, and there's plenty of room for extra cards. So if you have sleeves or want a sleeve, you can. Hopefully they might come out with some extra cards to be able to play and throw in there. It'll easily fit in the base game box. But if not, this box is easily fits the game and then some. So not quite to the extent that I think Splendor is, but I think almost on that same level of you're only going to fill maybe half of this box up with the content if you take the insert out. So art is fine. It's nothing crazy. It's just like the top down of a dungeon, whatnot. You know, graphic design. I think their iconography is really well done, easy to understand. You don't have to look in a lot of things. But so I'm neutral on just the production in general. There's nothing that stands out as like, ooh, this is amazing, or this isn't very good. But I will say, from a production standpoint, I wish they would have had a different name, because I don't think this is going to inspire a lot of people to buy the game, because it doesn't really tell you anything about it.
It doesn't do it justice.
It really doesn't. And so yeah, that's my biggest gripe about the production, is that the name of the game is horrible. So Stonespine Architect.
I wouldn't say it's horrible.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's a horrible name for the game. But I think they could have been something a lot more exciting.
Yeah, I think so too. More to like draw you in, because I mean, we'll get into it, but the name, it's not as
You don't look at this and think I'm building a dungeon. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that's my thought on the production of the game. What do you think?
Mm-hmm. I think the same thing. I mean, it's like you can see that there's like bulls, which are like playing with different like creatures, different like mythical type of creatures.
Yeah, not
But
really
it
though.
doesn't. But it doesn't really show too much. Like it shows them like lifting
Well, there's not
stuff,
much of a
but
theme to it. It's pretty abstract.
yeah,
I
it
mean, you're
is.
just laying cards.
Yeah. So I mean,
Sorry,
yeah, it
go ahead.
doesn't really look. Yeah, not very dungeon like,
Yeah.
really.
So I mean, production is I'm
Hmm.
neutral on it, right? Now, getting into actually playing the game, teardown, setup, preparation for the game, teaching people how to play, it's a pretty straightforward
It
game.
is.
With you
Yeah.
having the simultaneous card play, it's a pretty quick game. The
Hmm.
box says 45 minutes to 60. I think that's a little long, maybe at a four-player game they can
Yeah. If
get
you
to
have
that.
four.
Two players, we could easily get this done in 30 minutes. It's
Yeah.
pretty quick. You have the
Hmm.
simultaneous drafting. The only thing that you really have to take turns is when you're spending your gold to buy the different tokens from the
Yeah.
market, right? And then choosing your extra scorecards, right?
Hmm.
So it's pretty quick because hey, all we're doing is simultaneously drafting, and you're putting in the cards in your row, and you just keep going, keep going, keep going,
Yeah.
right? And so that's what's really nice and easy. The turn order for buying stuff is easy, just based on your gold. So I think the teach setup teardown is just a few cards. You can have this game set up in a few minutes, easy.
Yep.
So I think preparation for the game, it's one that I'll easily get to the table quite often.
Hmm.
You want to talk about gameplay?
Gameplay, I do love that it's like tile placement, although like cards,
Right.
but I do love that feel of almost like you're setting up your own maze. That
Yeah.
to me, that's what it reminds me of is like you got to get from point A to point B. And I think that's a cool concept. And it's like based on whatever cards you choose, you have to make sure, that you're going to be able to get there. So I think it's an interesting way of thinking about where you're placing your cards, along with like the other things like do you get extra points for treasure or the little green cubes or
Yeah.
whatever. So overall, like, and I'm a big like tile placement girl when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to games. Like, I feel like most games that have tile placement in them, I enjoy. And so this is, yeah, just a really cool way of incorporating that and like just a different way of playing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For me, I like the give and take when it comes to the drafting, right? So yes, it's like a tile placement game, but you're doing each row, one row at a time.
Hmm.
And when you're taking those cards, I like the decisions that come with it, where you're not only paying attention to where the entrances or the doorways are and what's in the dungeon portion, but you're also looking at the gold that's on the bottom, right? So
Hmm.
depending on what cards you draft, that's going to determine how much money you have to buy market tokens
Hmm.
that are available for that round. And so if you have the most, that means you get to go first. So you're going to get first dibs at specific tokens. And there might be a secret passageway that you really need in order to make
Hmm.
certain groups of your dungeon get connected and score a lot of points because you're trying to connect all of these different cards to your entrance and to your exit. So I really like that give and take of, ooh, I can get a lot of money for this card, but there's a negative 3 points on this card.
Yeah.
So is it really worth the give and take, right? Or this one has a lot of points, not a lot of gold, or it has a lot of icons on it, and trying to get those in the right categories. I also like the depth of strategy when it comes to playing because not only are you just building out this dungeon and you have your little blueprint of what your dungeon needs to have in it, whether it be a certain type of dungeon card like a cave or a stone,
Hmm.
or you might need certain monsters or certain traps or whatever that may be. You're working on completing this little puzzle that just pertains to you, and
Hmm.
other people might be trying to make sure you don't get those pieces. So there could be a little bit of hate drafting, but then you're also going to be getting these tokens to where maybe I can't draft the right card, but I can buy a token that's going to make me meet this requirement. So
Yeah, it's
there's a little
true.
bit of forgiveness there that if you can't get the right card, you might be able to buy a token to
Right.
get what you need to fulfill that puzzle.
That's true. That does play a huge part. Is like your blueprint, how you're gonna get extra points for that. So you want to
Right.
make sure.
But then you're also throughout the game, there's going to be a general goal that everybody's going to be going
Mhm.
for, and so it could be based off of who has the most gelatinous cubes or different traps, whatever it is, and they're going to score points that way. But then throughout the first 3 rounds, you're also being drafting these additional scoring cards for at the end of the game. So you're going to be trying to score in many different ways, and then not to mention, at the very
Mhm.
end, you're going to be passing and getting priority to get points that way. So
Mhm.
there are a lot more points that come into the game than I would initially think, and a lot more strategy and things to kind of look out for as you're playing, and different goals. So there is a number of different things there when it comes to what you're doing in the game,
Mhm. Right.
and add some depth. And like I said, when you're actually drafting those cards, that give and take of, ooh, I want the money, but I really need this card, but I really want those tokens in the market, or I really want to go first, whatever that is. There's some interesting decisions there in the game, I think.
Mhm.
So there is some luck, obviously, about getting the cards or the right tokens to come out, but you can mitigate that a little bit. So having that strategy and trying to figure out ways around maybe some barriers that you run into, but there is a little bit of luck. Thematically, I mean, as far as like, you don't actually feel like you're an architect building and me, I didn't think I was like a specific character, but you do feel like you're building out a dungeon, right?
Mhm.
I almost wish that there was a part where something or someone had to go through your dungeon, and depending on what you have in your dungeon, they either succeed or fail. I don't know. I
Yeah.
want somebody to have to fight their way through my dungeon, and if they fail, then I get extra points or whatever kind
Well,
of stuff.
technically, it's you though that have to get through the dungeon.
No, I'm
in a
building the
way.
dungeon.
Well,
I want
mean,
some heroes to come in there and see.
I think
Expansion idea. Just saying.
I think of it as like, okay, I'm like going through my dungeon. I have to get from my entrance to my exit. That's how I think of it.
But then why would you want to collect all these traps?
Well, because I mean, I get points for the traps and stuff. I guess I don't want to get caught in the trap, but anyway.
Anyway, I think the game's pretty streamlined. There's not a lot of downtime. You're very interested, like
It's
the simultaneous drafting.
yeah.
You're engaged in what other people are buying, and what cards they're taking. Because there's like, ooh, do I just pass because I really want the scoring card,
Yeah.
or so there's a lot there. So I think it feels very streamlined. I like the mechanics of the game. I think it is thematic if you can get past the name of the game.
Yeah, and it is easy to play, but like you said, it has a lot of depth to it.
Right.
So maybe
I feel like more
easy,
than I initially thought.
Yeah, like easy to learn, but yeah, there's more that goes into it.
Lifetime to master. I hate that, but no. Anyway, so taking all that into account, let's kind of get into how did this meet, exceed, fall short of our expectations, and kind of our final score. So,
okay.
Where does this one fall? Do you think that this? You probably didn't have a whole lot of
I
idea.
Literally had no expectations at all because I knew
just buy
nothing
games
about
and
it.
they show up.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you'll like tell me about certain ones, but this is one I never knew anything about. And so it showed up, and so I saw the name, and I was like, "Oh God!" Like, I don't know if this is gonna be good or not.
So you had low expectations.
Yeah, like very, yeah. I mean, I guess I could say I did have low expectations, but so it exceeded my expectations because it was something that I did enjoy playing. I like that it's a game that you can get done pretty fast too, and it feels like you're doing a lot. I like, the whole tile placement, being able to build out your own dungeon, but it's like card placement, whatever. It's kind of like tiles, but like, yeah, but it's actual cards. But yeah, it did exceed expectations for me.
What would your score be for it?
I'm actually going to give this like a 8.8. I really liked it. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty high.
Okay. Yeah. 8. And yeah, I was surprised by that. Okay.
So for me, this definitely exceeded my expectations, and I'm pretty sure that this game coming to retail, if you can get a good deal, I think it's worth $39, but I'm sure you're going to be able to get a really decent price on it. So I think it'll definitely be worth it at retail as well. I think it was worth it at this. So I would definitely recommend it. It exceeded my expectations. I thought, hey, this will be a lighter game, But it'll be cool. We're building a dungeon. And then as we're playing, I was like, oh, wow, you have a lot more to think about it. And we played it with Tim and Alyssa as well. And we're like, oh, wow, a lot more. It's more to this than you initially think when you're playing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I like those kinds of games that kind of surprise you. Like, oh, these are so simple. But, oh, man, I really forgot about this. I need to think about this. And there's plenty of ways to score. So for me, it exceeded expectations because I did kind of like jump into it. I was like, I hope this is a good purchase kind of thing. But I really like it. So I'm not at an 8.8, but I'm definitely at 8.3. I think it's a really good game. I really like it. It is one that I keep wanting to come back to as well. And so, man, I hope, I don't know if this is going to be kind of like a surprise or not. I don't know.
It's like a hidden gem.
It could be, but it is Thunderworks, and people do like the role player world.
I like this way better than Cartographers, though.
Okay, let's not get crazy. Okay, anyway, but I think this one is, if you can find it, if it's something you're interested in, I would definitely pick it up. I think it's worth the investment. So super easy to get to the table. So that's gonna do it. That's gonna do it for our review of Stonespine Architects.
Yeah.
The unforgettable, forgettable dungeon builder game.
That needs a new name.
That needs a new name. So, what would you name this game? Anyway, just probably send those suggestions to Thunderworks. Yeah. But please like, comment, subscribe, and we will see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching.
Bye.